Good day, peace, love and light to you all, family. Welcome to another YouTube video with me, your host. We're back at it again with another movie decoding. Now, today we're going to be doing a very powerful, very profound movie. We're going to be talking about Inception. Now, last week I tweeted that I don't know which movie to decode, Avatar or Inception. So there was a bit of a battle, but I ended up deciding that, you know what, I'll just do both, but I'll start with the much more complex one. Even though both movies are basically about dreams or projections, into different bodies or different states of the self. But we're gonna start off with the movie that we know as Inception. So now, before I get into decoding the movie, there's certain things that you need to understand, that whatever field of study that you are looking into, you have to broaden your perspective of that particular field by looking outside. So for an example, if you want to understand the Bible, you have to read other holy books and other holy texts, in order for you to understand the Bible and to really pick up what the narrative of that is. So you must study the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, or other holy texts in order for you to understand that. You must move out of what you are trying to look at and look at it from a different perspective. Now, in order to understand movies, you also must know that movies are written by people who have studied in these fields of occultism, ancient spiritual knowledge, most of it being African spiritual knowledge, Egyptian or Kemetic knowledge. So these movies are based off mythology, they are based off high spiritual science, and then they are just modernized and the characters are changed and given new names, just as how we call the main character in a movie would call that a hero. That is taken from the ancient African Egyptian god known as Heru, which is the son of Isis and Horus, who was the sun god, who was the original Jesus or the original Christ figure. So as time moves, these characters are just changed and given different names according to the particular age. If it's Greek, they would call it Zeus, or they would call a certain person maybe Perseus, and then in Roman mythology it would change to a different name. And so in modern day world, it also changes the characters. So now, one field you must dive into in order for you to understand Inception is the field of Kabbalah, what is known of as Kabbalah, which in that field, it's also an ancient African display or an ancient African spiritual system of explaining how the divine mind or God consciousness basically negates or retracts portions of itself and then creates certain emanations in order to express itself in different densities. So it basically creates levels of projections or dreams known as sephiras, and these sephiras are universes or planes of existence. Now, there's 10 spheres in the field of Kabbalah, and I'm just going to give you a basic here. So at the top of the tree, you have 3 sephiras or 3 circles. So the first one would be Keter, and then it negates to create what is known as Bina and then Chokma. So those would be the first 3 emanations, and then after that there's another 3 and then another 3, and then there's the last one, which is Malkuth, which is a representation or a mirror reflection of Keter. So it is the below of the as above. So when we are praying, or when you are deciphering, or when you are uttering the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, you are actually basing that prayer is based off the Kabbalah. So what we are trying to replicate here on earth comes from the top of the tree. And everything in life is actually created in this way, because those particular dimensions represent different states of how things come into formation. So the upper 3 would be the world of archetypes or ideas, where things are formed, and then the next 3 would be the world of creation, and then the next 3 is the world of formation, and then finally all that process manifests in the physical, which is Malkuth, which is the world of action. So this particular process is followed throughout everything in nature. When you have an idea for creating a business, you first put that down on a paper. That is you think about the idea. That is the archetype. That is the thought. The same process happens when you are giving birth to a baby. So I'm going to use 2 examples. the world of archetypes on a biological level would be the sperm and the egg. It is the idea, it is the potential of something to be, right? So now, the moment the mom and the dad have sex, it has moved down into a process of what? Creation. So that's you taking that idea and putting it down on paper. So now you are basically creating it. You are putting it on paper. That's creating it. And then it moves down to the world of what? Formation. So on this side of a baby coming into life, the formation part happens when the baby is being formed in the mother's womb. That's the world of formation. So on a business side, that would be you now beginning to form your actual company. Be it you are building the physical structure and you are getting all the people who are going to be sponsoring that particular company. You're getting the artists ready, or depending on the type of business, you're getting the machinery. So you are now forming it. And then the last one is where all of that now comes into fruition, and it is in the world of action. So the world of action is the mother giving birth. And in the business side, it's you now kicking that business. So that's just the basic of what the Kabbalah is. Now, this movie of Inception, now when we look at the movie Inception, it follows a guy who basically gets hired by companies in order to steal ideas from people. So there's a certain type of technology that they use in order to hack into the people's minds. So now the movie starts off with him. It starts off, we see him landing, we see him on a beach, and then he goes into this particular place. He gets pulled in there, and then he's having a conversation with this old man, and he says that I'm here to remind you of something that you've known but you have long forgotten. And then from that scene, it jumps to a place where now they are young. There's him, the two people, they show us a much earlier version of themselves, where now the main character says to this guy that we can basically teach you how to protect your mind or your subconscious mind from ideas being stolen. So now this movie is this is where we're gonna begin it. And then that very same guy is gonna give this guy a different type of job. So now we're gonna get into the movie. Remember that when you watch movies, always take notes, because movies are much more profound. As I said, they come from mythology, they come from ancient things. So when you take notes, you're not just watching for entertainment, you're not being entertained, you're not being trained to just take things, you're not being programmed, but you're actually observing things. So now it's about going 3 levels into the dream. So those 3 levels represent us being in third density, the third dimension, because this plane that we are living in is actually the dream world. So your physical body is the avatar or the tool or the vessel that a higher conscious part of yourself is using in order to navigate within this realm of 5 senses: taste, touch, sight, sound, and smell. So your consciousness, your spirit is actually locked within your body. There's something inside of you that is the driver of this, and that thing dreams, or it moves within dimensions. So when you sleep at night, you go into a different state of dream. This physical life, you think of it to be reality, because you can, you feel the pain and all of it, but all of that is all happening in the mind. So the 3 levels of the dream, that third density, it's this dimension that we are living in. So now the movie starts with that guy saying that, Cobb saying, we can teach you how to train your subconscious mind to protect itself in the dream. The dream, as I said, it's basically your waking life. So now what we must know about the subconscious mind is that the subconscious mind hides away things that you are afraid of, just like in that movie Inside Out. And when you do this spiritual process known as shadow work, what you are doing is trying to reprogram your subconscious mind in order for you to now be the creator of that. So you are trying to awaken your God self from this false reality that you think is the real world. You think that this body, you think that what you are experiencing here is actually reality, but it is actually a dream, right? So now, the character that we see called Saito, this Chinese guy, the first thing we notice about him is that when they are trying to hack his mind, he seems to know what they are trying to do. And why is that? It's because Saito represents the consciousness, or Saito represents the conscious part. He's the psyche, Saito. So he's the conscious part. he's playing the character of Lucifer, and he also says to Cobb in one of the in the scene, he says that this was actually an audition for you. He says this. He says this was an audition for you because Cobb is playing the Christ figure. He is Neo in the Matrix, and then Saito is playing Lucifer, who is actually also Morpheus. He's the one who is there to awaken Cobb, just as the snake was there to awaken Adam and Eve. Morpheus was there to awaken Neo. So Saito was actually there to test Cobb. You see, so he's playing the character of Lucifer. Who's Lucifer? Lucifer is the light bringer. He's the one who brings the light. He's the one who he's basically the trickster, but the divine trickster, because the soul must awaken to the reality of itself being omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscience. Right now, it's under the illusion that it is mortal because of this physical body. And so now Lucifer is an aspect of God's mind that, hey, that was like to Adam and Eve, hey, Joe, or the snake in the garden, because the snake represents what? Wisdom. So wisdom came to Eve and said, hey, eat of the apple. When they say you are the apple of my eye, that what they are talking about is the third eye. So the eating of the tree of good and evil is the falling into duality and then coming back into unity, or opening that third eye after it had been sealed away, in order for you to transcend duality, and thus then now you eat off the tree of life. Remember, there were two trees in the garden, and then they say they took them out so that they could not eat off the tree of life. That tree of life is the Kabbalah. It's your physical body, the access to the rest of the universe. So you basically have to earn and go till the soil and go do the work. Just as they were doing the work, this movie was basically about you doing the work. This is happening psychologically. It's not just it wasn't a physical thing. It's psychological things taking place when they are going into these levels of the dream. So now we see a scene where Saito awakens on the carpet in one of the levels of the dream, and he sees that, hey man, this is not my carpet, right? And then we also see a scene where they wake up in the train. So now, the fact that he felt the carpet, because the guy, when the archetype, the archetype guy in the train said that, how was I supposed to know that he was gonna rub his damn cheek on it? It's talking about the feeling. The feeling is what gives you the sensations, the feeling. You know, even that girl, which we're gonna get into it when she was being trained, she said, I thought that it was gonna be more about the visual, but it's actually more about the feeling. So your life, you feel that it's real. It's the feelings that are convincing you, and it's also the feelings that can help you escape. So the water, the ocean, all of that represents the feeling side of things. You must learn how to feel your way back into the God mind, which is the Christ mind. So the train, we see them awakening in that level. That train represents the convolutions of the mind. It represents the synaptic connections. It represents it's basically called the cave of Brahma, or the passages or the tunnels of Set. The tunnels of Set. These cubicles and that train is also represented in a different movie. As I said, they represent the convolutions of the brain, right? When we watch the movie The Matrix, when Neo was first awakening, what happened? He was running in what? He was running in the cubicles where he was working, in his workplace. Those cubicles, again, in that movie The Matrix, they represent the passages of the tunnels, the brain. So you have to run through the brain in order for you to tap into different aspects of yourself. Another movie I'll give an example of is Inside Out, where that character Joy was moving through the brain with who? With sadness. So all of that, it represents that. It represents the passages or the tunnels in the brain. In Kabbalah, they are also known as the tunnels of Set, which they are said to be a network of dream cells in the subconscious mind. So you have to move through the maze, through that tunnel, in order for you to come into higher consciousness. So the architect in the train we also hear about him where in the movie The Matrix, because there is an architect that created this particular physical world, which we're going to get into in terms of who the architect is. But the architect is the one who basically created the Matrix. The Matrix is the feminine. It is the physical world. The physical world is the Matrix. Matter, the matriarch, the feminine principle. That is the Matrix. So now, as we said, that Psycho represents the psyche. He's the part that is conscious. He is Lucifer. He's the light bringer. He's the one who is aware of where he is. That's why he could see that what they were trying to pull on him was fake. And so now he went to hire Cobbs for the real deal. He wanted the real deal job to not only try and steal ideas, but to actually now plant an idea, which is basically talking about a different thing, because that's what Inception is. Inception is an idea. Inception, the word Inception means something new, something fresh, something unknown, something, the birthing of something, the creation of something. So something new. That's what Inception is. So Earth is Inception, because on Earth something new will be born. And what that thing is Christ consciousness. So now your consciousness, or the part of you that awakens, is represented by Saito in this movie. It's represented by Saito. And now Saito is awakening, or will awaken through Cobb, which is a different aspect. So these are different aspects of one consciousness. Just like how the disciples of Jesus are different aspects of Christ or Jesus. Each disciple represented a different aspect, a psychological aspect, be it faith, be it belief or strength. Each disciple represents a different aspect of the mind, the 12 cranial nerves. So now, an interesting thing we hear in the movie is that they say that the people awaken through what? They awaken through music. They awaken through music. And even if you look at the culture of the world today, isn't it that the people have been awakening through music, be it hip hop, they say soul music, all of that, the blues, the jazz, tapping you into different states of yourself. Ancient people beating the drums in dance, which would allow them to go into trance, which is what these states are. So music is the kick. They use music as a kick because music is actually what the universe is. It's rhythm, it's movement, it's moving from one beat to the next. These are just chapters and stages in your life. So now we find that the character called Cobb, he goes to look for a new architect. And when he finds this girl, and now he's training her, he says that when we are awake, we only use a fraction of our brain, but then when we sleep, it's a completely different story. So we tap into the rest of the brain. So that's why when you're sleeping, you can do all those amazing things such as flying and all of that. And then he tells her that you never really see the beginning of a dream. You just end up in there. What that's talking about is your life. You don't remember the beginning of this dream. You just became conscious somewhere along, maybe when you were 3 years old, but you don't remember the actual beginning of this dream. You just somehow seem to have just ended up here. So that's what they're talking about. If you can recall, can you recall your inception into this reality as the name or the character that you have? You don't. So this is what they were talking about. Don't think about this movie as like just the dreams when you dream at night, when you sleep. No, your life is the dream that they are talking about that you must awaken from. So you are Cobb and you must go back home. You must go back home to your true home, which is what? The spiritual realm. And even higher than that, to your true self, which is basically no self. When you become one with everything, it's about recalling the memory, the real memory of who you are. So now Cobb tells this lady that her first lesson was dream sharing. And this is what we are doing here on earth. The lesson of earth is that we are dream sharing. Right now, we are dream sharing. When you walk and you go to work, these different humans that you are seeing, we are learning how to dream. We are co-sharing this dream world. So you are having your own individualized dream and everyone else is also having their individualized dream, and then we are co-sharing that. And then such phenomena as synchronicity and things like that is how the energies begin to pull you to people who you have similar vibrational attractions to. So we are co-sharing this dream. That's what he was talking about, is that this was your first lesson in dream sharing. This is what we are doing here on earth. Hence, there are certain laws, as I said, that those laws of attractions, the laws that we have set in place, such as gravity or whatever it is, these are agreements that were made in a higher spiritual plane, that these are the laws that we are setting for this dream, that this is what we can be, this is what we can do, and this is what we can't do. This is why you see that in your dreams, these laws change. All of a sudden, gravity doesn't apply when you sleep. You can do certain things such as fly. Time is non-linear. So in different levels of your dream and our collective dream, the agreements change. So this is about learning how to navigate the realm of dreams. And then he says to her in a different part, they say that now 5 minutes in a dream could be an hour. This is what takes us there, to show that time is an element, just like how you have elements as fire, earth, air, and water. Time and space are elements. Africans, in the language of Zulu, you can actually hear that they knew that these were two aspects of the same thing, because time is called iskati and space is called umkati. You see, so to show that these are two aspects of the same thing, and they just change based on the speed and the frequency of your brain. If you take certain herbs or you take certain psychedelics, you'll know that time is an illusion, because all of a sudden time can either be sped up or slowed down. So time is an element, all controlled by your brain frequencies. So this is what they were talking about there. So this girl, when they entered the dream, as I said there, she said that I thought that as I'm creating this, it would be more about the visuals, but I see that it's actually more about the feelings. So the feelings is what gives you power. The feelings, hence Saito, when he was on the carpet, he's like, this doesn't feel like my carpet. You know, it's the feeling that allows you to awaken. So now the lady, the new architect, that girl called Arianda, as she was being trained and she was changing things around, she meets a character called Mal, which is Cobb's wife, right? So that tree that I spoke about, it has different, those 10 spheres have different names. The first one is Keta, then the second one is Chokma, then we move to Bina, then is Chesed, Gubra, Tifroth, Nesach, Hod, Yeshod, and Melkuth. These are the names that they were given. And these names represent different things or different aspects as well. In ancient Egyptian times or ancient Kemetic times, so Keta would represent Ra, which is the first light, and then would move on to Chokma, which would be Tefnut, which would represent basically moisture. Would move to Bina, which would be Shu, which represents air. So each of them represents a different thing. Chesed would be Nut, which is the sky. And then you see, so as you move along the spheres, the deities of ancient Kemet are represented in these different spheres or the different worlds, which are different psychological states, which are also the angels. These are the hierarchies of angels, which would be the guardian angels at the lower spheres, and then you would have your archangel, then you would have your the cherubims and the seraphims. The higher up you go. So these are the different dimensions, which are different vibrational states. So the higher ones are much more less subtle, and then the lower you go in the tree, it becomes much more physical. And the more physical it is, the deeper or the denser the dream. And the denser the dream, the more forgetting takes place within the memory, because initially you are a spirit, you are non-manifest, and then you create or you formulate yourself in the realm of manifestation, in the realm of matter, which the last sphere in the Kabbalah is known as Malkuth. So Malkuth is earth. And who is Cobb's wife? She's called who? She's called Mal. She's called Mal. That's who she is. So she represents the earth. She represents Malkuth. And that's who Arianda meets in that place. So in mythology, we learn about the earth actually being or even the material universe being created from a feminine or female entity known by many names. It has come to be known as the Great Mother or Sophia. You see, so this world that we are living in is created from the material of a primordial feminine principle. So the story goes in mythology that there was this great mother, right, known as Sophia, and this great mother had a son, and this son was not fully formed, and then when he was not fully formed, he escaped his mother's womb. So he basically had a premature birth. And so what he did was that, it differs in many stories, but it's basically the same. In a different story, they say that he killed his mother, and then he used different, or he took different aspects of his mother to create the physical world after having killed her. And then after that, he created the physical world. And then as he created the physical world, he said that I am the only God. This is where we get that whole concept of the jealous God. It says, I am the only God and there are no gods above me. So he is actually a creation he was created in the lower spheres. So Keta Chogma Baina, those first emanations, this particular entity known as Idolabrath or Yaldabaoth in mythology is known as the demiurge or the demigod. So he's a lesser god than the original creation. So the original creator is far above. So the creation we are living in, or this world, is not created by the original creator. It is created by a lesser entity. And that's why it is flawed, just like how this creature or this being has said to be flawed. He was not fully formed when he created this particular universe or this particular material earth. So he copied the original creation, which is Keta, and then he used that to now the fifth. And remember, all of this is energy. It's energy. This is how the ancients explained energy. So all of this is basically about how energy or formation or how creation came to be. So if you would see on your window in the morning, you'd see water forming out of nothing, and then that water would become a liquid. So condensation is basically the same thing, whereas you would get nothing, and then that nothing would now form a gaseous state, and then that gas would form into a liquid, and then that liquid would be an ice. That's basically condensation. So that process in ancient time would be used metaphorically. So gas, the water version of the gaseous state of water would be personified. It would be called Tefnut, because Tefnut is moisture, and then a different state of the water would be given a different name. So when we speak about things such as gravity or earth, they gave them names, they personified them. The earth was personified as an entity called Geb, and then the night sky was Nut, and then the air was Shu. So these were personifications. So they became deities. So it's not that Africans believed in many gods, it's that they understood that God formulates or God manifests itself in different aspects on this particular world or in the universe. So that whole entity, Idolabrath, he was like, no. What he did was he took the material from the primordial world, he created the physical world as a copy, and then he trapped divine sparks in these physical bodies and then now governed above them. And so now there were certain aspects. The Christ figure was sent to come redeem or to help those divine sparks, those fallen sparks, to escape this place, because they came here in a sense of them being tricked into come into this physical world, into this dream world, and now they've been trapped here for a long time, and now they think that it goes deep. So now let's continue on in the movie. So the Great Mother is known as who? She's known as the fallen daughter, or Sophia, which is Malkuth. So hence Cobb's wife represents the material world. She is the earth itself. She is matter. She is Malkuth. She is Mal. So hence, the physical world the physical world traps you here. It convinces you that this is real. Hence Cobb's wife kept convincing Cobb representing the aspect of of Jesus that must rise, it kept convincing him that, yo, no, this is real, this is real. And he kept trying to escape, because the earth convinces you that you are real, that you are your body. The earth being mal, and the earth being all of these things that you find in the material world. Hence they say in the scriptures, you cannot serve two masters. The other master is the physical, the other one is the spiritual. So now, let's continue it. The guy, Cobb, in the beginning, he said that, remember that you think that you are real. And what did Cobb say in the beginning of the movie? He said that the most resilient thing, once understood and developed, is an idea. So you are under this illusion, you are under this idea. Your ego is feeding you this human idea that you are your body. So you have been convinced through your ego, which also represents Idolobroth, the demiurge, the demigod, that you are your body. You think that when you die, it's over. This is all you are. So you have been fed this idea, and now you must awaken from this false idea, this false sense of yourself, to think of yourself to be localized and temporal, when you are actually non-localized and immortal, non-spatial. You are beyond what you have been taught you are. You are locked in a prison, and you should be actually trying to transcend this prison, this prism, which is your body. When you take pure light and you break it through a prism, it breaks into, and you shine it through a prism, it breaks into a 7-color spectrum. Those 7 color spectrums are your chakras, which are basically the seals. So this is hell, which is a shell, and within that hell, which is a cell, is trapped what? Cells. You have cells in your body. What is in cells? Atoms. What are atoms? Light. So there's light trapped within you, trapped in your cells. A cell is a jail. You are in a shell, which is a hell, which is the lower world in which into you fell. You see what I'm saying? Excuse me. So now what you must do is that you must give up these earthly desires and acquire a higher mentality. So this is why the ancient Egyptians were studying death so much. They were basically tapping into the science of the higher self, of how to escape this illusionary world and the passions of this world, how to transcend physicality, how to die and not come back, because you keep coming back here. You are light, so you need to generate light via knowledge and the spiritual recall of memory, as I spoke about in the last video. Memory is what? Because memory is light. All of this thing is light, and then that light condenses into chemicals, which are released by your glands, the secretions, which are the secrets. So you are a very specialized creation, and within you is hidden the secrets of the universe. So now you must escape this place. You must escape mal. You must die to the physical. Hence Cobb was telling his kids, he says, when they were on the phone, he said that mom is not here anymore. We spoke about this. So you must escape this. You must not be here anymore. Mal must go. You must transcend an aspect of mal, because you've been here for a very long time. And Cobb's kids, we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about them. So now the grandfather of the kids, which is Cobb's father, he represents Osiris. He's basically the bridge between Cobb and his kids. His kids represent heaven and eternal youth. They represent home for him. So the grandfather is a bridge, because he can communicate with Cobb and also talk to the kids, and hence he was saying, give them these gifts for me. So this grandfather in the movie would also be, his father would be Mufasa, and he would be Simba. So remember when Mufasa died? Now he was basically a bridge between Simba and the other world. So that's who he represents. He's Mufasa, who is Osiris, the king of the underworld, the one who communicates with both worlds, the one who is in between, and then he represents that bridge between him and his kids, the eternal youth. So now, the earth is the place where now you must figure out how to get back home. So you are not here for just pleasure and fun and to be a billionaire and all of the. You are here to do the work. You are here to do the inception. You are here to awaken to the true divinity of yourself. You're not just here for relaxing and and all of these things. You can acquire wealth and all these physical things, but there is a bigger mission. You should never miss that. There is a bigger mission in terms of why you are here. There is a bigger mission to awaken the God within you. You are here to realize that you have eternal peace and joy, and it exists within you. But for you to tap into that, you need to do the spiritual work. You have to go into the levels of the dreams. So Saito in the movie plays Lucifer, as I was saying. He said to them, he says that his biggest competitor, he said that his biggest competitor was a dying man, and who? A dying man and his son. A dying man and his son. Saito is who? We said that Saito is Set, right? No, Saito is Lucifer, which is known basically also in ancient time. Saito, the psyche, is the aspect of who? Of Set. So Cobb and the guy known as Fisher are two aspects of the same being, the two aspects of a Christ awakening. So he says that his biggest competitor is a son, which is Fisher. Now we're getting into Fisher, the guy whose mind they were trying to hack into. So Fisher, his name being Fisher, he's Jesus. He's a different aspect of Cobb, which is the Jesus figure. They say that Jesus is what? Is the fisher of man. Fisher of man, fishing for the different aspects within man to awaken. And then Osiris is also represented here by his father, the dying, his old father. So he's the old. Set or Saito, he says his biggest competitor is a father, which is Osiris, and his son Heru. Set in African mythology represents the night. He represents the darkness. So he is who he was later turned into the being we know of as Satan. So Satan comes from Set. Set being the darkness. Hence they call it a sunset when the sun sets on the horizon being Heru, the ancient deity. So Heru sets on the horizon to go, as the sun sets, to go fight the darkness. Sunset, Set, the darkness, Satan. All of this, it's mythological. Remember I told you that they personified things. So the darkness, or an aspect of unconsciousness, or a different part, because consciousness comes from the darkness. So Set represents Saito in this movie, or Saito is represented by Set. And so now, in order for Cobb, an aspect of Christ consciousness to awaken, he must team up or link up with Set, which is also an aspect of the darkness, because from the darkness you get the light. So this was basically just talking about shadow work. You have to, as Saito, or as Cobb, link up with Saito in order for you to go and do the shadow work and tap into that so that you can go back home. You have to link up with Morpheus, Neo. You have to listen to the snake and stop being so ignorant in the garden of ignorance, in the garden where you're just walking around dazed, hypnotized. You have to get with the darkness. And from the darkness can you only understand the knowledge of the gods, the red or the blue pill. So you have to get with Morpheus, Maji. You have to stop thinking that you are, who's Mr. Anderson? Forgot his name. What was Neo's original name? Forgot his name. So you have to tap into that part of yourself, or else you're gonna grow, as they say, you're gonna be an old man filled with regrets. So Saito represents that part. He represents the snake in the garden. He's there with like, yo, bruh, I'm not just about wanting to steal ideas. I want to plant an idea. He's like, yo, because the snake, remember what the snake did in the garden? He came in and was like, hey, did God really say if you eat of? He was planting an idea. It's like, hey, did God really say if you eat of this, then that you're gonna die? Surely you're not gonna die. He's planting an idea. He's Saito. He's wisdom. He's an aspect of God. Don't think about this as what? It's different aspects of one being talking to itself, awakening itself, creating itself for itself, as an experience of itself, to see a reflection, a mirror reflection of itself. These are psychological characters. In the mind, the garden, the apple, you're the apple of my eye. It's the third eye that they are talking about. So once you eat off that red pill, it helps you to escape the false reality. But before that, you must get with Morpheus, as I said. You must get with the serpent so he can give you the wisdom of the gods. Just as Cobb in the movie. You know, he had to get with Set. And with Set, which is Saito. He had to go into the darkness. So he had to get with the light bringer. So he could know something different. Just as in the movie I decoded last, sadness and joy had to link up. You remember Joy didn't understand the purpose of sadness, because sadness, if you look at them, she represents those parts, or he represents those scary emotions, those darker emotions that people don't really want to tap into. So joy did not really understand what was happening. You know, so in order for Riley, that character in that movie, to transform, Joy had to get with who? Had to get with Set, with sadness. Had to get with those lower emotions and explore them and then see their purpose, because from there, then you get enlightenment, then you can get your happiness back, because all of these represent different things. So Satan represents a certain level of polarity, the dark side, which you must face in order for you to begin the process of awakening. You must go into that darkness, the deeper levels of the dream. These are which are the levels of the subconscious mind. So you must go into that part in order to awaken. So now, Fisher, the son, is an aspect of Cobb. He's playing the Jesus figure too. Remember I said that he's the fisher of man. Jesus is Horus. So now when he was recruiting her, what happened is that Cobb said to the lady, he said that, create a maze for me in 2 minutes, create a 2-minute maze that takes 1 minute to solve. So the girl created 2 mazes using a square, and then he solved them easy. And then once you created the circle, he was like, now you're talking, because it was a harder prism. So you are in this prism. That circle represents what? It represents the zodiac signs. You are in the prism, or the prison of the zodiac sign. The circle, it's a much harder prism or prison to escape from. It represents the zodiac sign, which is the circle of what? Zodiac is a circle of animals, which are, the animals are different aspects of the mind. Hence Noah in the Bible had to get the animals into the ark, or the ark. The ark is what? Half of a circle. The ark is the zodiac signs, the animals. All, if you look at the zodiac signs, a crab, a bull, a lion, those are different aspects of the animalistic nature, which you have to discipline. These are the 12 disciples of Jesus. That's what that represents there. Now remember that when they were having that conversation, he says that what we are doing here is that when we are dreaming, we don't know that we are dreaming, because the subconscious is doing all of the creating. So when they enter these dreams, what they are trying to do is to take or stand in between the creating part. So you in your life, you don't know that you are dreaming, because the subconscious is creating all of that. So when you do such things as meditations, such as crystal work, and you get your birth chart reading, and you get into metaphysics and candle work and spirituality, you start learning about amadlozi, ancestors, umdawu, istunywa, and all of these things, what you are doing is you are taking over the creating part. You are basically becoming a magician, a co-creator with deity, which is represented by the subconscious mind. So you are trying to stand in between the creation part. So now you are becoming the creator instead of your world just being created in J. So now you are tapping into the science of as a man thinketh, so is he. You are taking over that part. So that's what they were talking about in that movie. And then they also spoke about now when they were creating the vault. Let's talk about the vault. Now the vault is basically what is a place where you keep secrets. They say that when we create the levels of the dream, remember your body is a dream. Your body is created. It is an idea of God that he created. And within that creation is a vault or secrets. So now he says that we create a vault or a bank, and then that's where the secrets will be stored. So that vault is represented by your glands. Remember that your glands secrete certain chemicals and hormones, which are basically the pin to open the vault. Now, the pin is your vibration, your vibrational state. How fast you are vibrating spiritually, your Christ consciousness. And the vault represents the seals that they speak about in the book of Revelations. The seals, the secrets are hidden within the seals. The glands, which are the secrets. The glands do what? They secrete certain hormones. So the secrets come from the secretion of the glands, which are the seals, which are the physical manifestation of the chakras. So your pineal gland is the third eye chakra. Your pituitary gland is the crown chakra. Your thyroid is the throat chakra. Your thymus is the heart chakra. Your intestines represent the solar plexus. Your sexual glands is the sacral chakra. Your anus, that part is the root chakra. So your chakra exists on an ethereal level, but they represent themselves physically as the glands, which secrete secrets. The secret secretions of the glands. Woo! Okay, so now that we spoke about that, we're gonna get into the projections. So now we learned that the projections, when they feel that something is wrong in the dream, what they do is that they begin to what? They begin to start attacking. We also see this in that movie where Morpheus was walking Neo through the simulation, and then that girl with the red dress walked by. And then he told her that everyone is an agent. Everyone who's not yet awakened is an agent. We also see a similar scene in the movie Inception, because Inception and the Matrix are basically like the same movie in just like different parts. Where this girl goes to Saito and then she steals his wallet. Basically. A distraction, stealing something of value from him. So that's what that scene represented there, saying that everyone who's still not awake to this particular knowledge, they are still an agent. They are still an agent. Hence, even Jesus in the Bible, he said to his own mother that my true family are the ones who are within the knowledge of God and things like that. So it basically talks to the part that when you seek true spirituality and true knowledge, you're going to get attacked by the projections. The projections is everyone else in this world, a reality. Everyone in this reality. You know that when you start speaking about some African spirituality and that God is existing within us and that we are gods and things like that, your own family will begin to attack you. Your own family will attack you because they also represent projections until they wake up, because they are still part of the system. They are part of the matrix. So the projections is everyone in this reality, in this false created reality, thinking that they are their ego, so they are still falling victim. So hence when you start speaking certain things that they do not understand, what happens? Boom, they attack you. So they are the projections. So now this guy, when he was building his team, when he had to build his team, he was basically putting together Solomon's temple. He was putting together the body temple. He was getting the different guys. And then remember that when he was getting these guys, he says that one of the guys he had to get, he says that I don't just need a thief, I need a forger, right? Now, what is a forger? A forger is a person who basically creates, he copies, and then he imitates, he studies, is one who observes and who forges things, because to be a forger, you must study. So you, in order to forge and to create the real you must observe, you must become a thief. You must go into the system. I like one of J. Cole's songs. He says, and I think it's in I Let Nas Down. He says, for the greater good I walk amongst the evil. So you must go into the system within itself. You must go and study Fisher and his father and how things are done. You must study and become the wise one. You must become slick in order for you to forge yourself back into that which you have forgotten. Not only must you forge it, you must become it. You saw him becoming Fisher's uncle, like really becoming that. So not only must you forge, you must become, you must study the patterns so that you can forge yourself or create yourself back into that which you have forgotten again, which is the primal original worlds that exist within you. And then another part that we see when he was putting together the team is that they went to find a chemist, right? Now, this chemist dude represents, as I said, the secretions, the glands that exist within you. He's a shaman within you. He plays the role of he plays the role of the chemist, which are represented by the chemicals in the brain, represent that are responsible for hallucination. So these would be such chemicals such as, or secretions such as DMT and melatonin, which is responsible for the different levels of dream. So how deep in the dreams you get to go. So the chemicals, the secretions of the chemist within you, your glands, they are what drive you. Because remember that when you, let's say you feel sexually driven to someone, that is a chemical, a sexual energy being released in your body, and then it drives you. When you feel anger or when you are scared, boom, what happens? Your kidneys secrete what? They secrete adrenaline, flight or fight. The glands represent those different parts of you. The glands drive you, the chemicals. Hence the chemical guy, the chemist, was what? He was the driver of the van. Your glands drive you. Your chemicals, your secretions, they are what drive the hormones. They are what move you in the dream. So they drive the van. So that's why we were seeing him. He represents that part. He was the driver of the van. So now when they were there by the chemical guy, and then he was showing them these particular things that will tap them into the different dream, one of the people said that, so these people who come here every day to sleep, he's like, no, they come here to be awakened. The dream has now become their reality. Your life here on earth, thinking that you are this particular person, this has become your reality. You think that you are a doctor, you think that you are an engineer, a clerk, a dentist, a pilot, or you think you are all these jobs. You think that you are all these things that are created here. You have been trapped in this particular place. So you must now become awakened from that, so that you can escape the loop of time, which is known as the Ouroboros, the snake biting its own tail, which is a symbol of what? A symbol of reincarnation, which is represented when that other guy, Cobb's partner, when he was showing Ariande how it's created, or how certain things are created, he was showing him the looping stairs, which is where also now we saw the phenomena of synchronicity, seeing the same thing again, just like how there was a synchronicity with that cat. Seeing one cat and then you see the same cat again. That happened on the looping stairs. So those looping stairs would represent the cycles of reincarnation, which you must escape. The loop, the ladder represents also Jacob's ladder. So you keep being looped back because the chakras exist on the spiritual vertebrae, on the subtle levels of the spine. So you keep being looped back here into physicality, and you finally need to escape out of the crown chakra and shoot out into the original worlds. So you keep coming back here. So that circle again represents also the zodiac signs, because you've been all of these signs. You've been a Gemini, you've been a Libra, you've been an Aquarius, you've been all of these things. So now you must finally be the Christ. You must be the 13. 13 is the Christ number, so that you can finally escape all of these particular fields. Now, we learned that when they were trying to tap into the dream, they say that the levels of the dream represent certain things. So there were certain missions that they were going to be doing. They said that the first level, they were going to insert the idea that I will not follow in my father's footsteps. And then the second part of the dream was that I will create something for myself. And then the third part, the third level will be that my father doesn't want me to be him. So that's what we are doing here on earth. We are creating the new. We are creating something new. Something that has never been before. So we already have been the kings and the queens of the earth. We've built the pyramids and we've created and mapped all of these things. So now we must create something new. We must become a new being, we must become transfigured as Christ in the new consciousness, in the New Testament. We must become something new. Remember when Jesus, when some of the Jesus disciples were looking at him on the mountain, and then they were like, is he Elijah? Who is he? You know, when he was standing with the prophets of old. So we must change from the old to be the new, to gain the new body, the glorified body, to gain, the old is the physical body. So we must, as it speaks about in Corinthians, in the book of Corinthians, that we must become the new body, the spiritual body. They say that, so as there's a physical body, there is a spiritual body. So it's no longer about trying to dominate and rule the physical world. We've done that for millions of years. So those levels of the dream represented alchemy, us creating something new. So now, remember that Mal represents what? She represents the earth. So when Cobb kept going back into the basement with that elevator, I think there were 12 levels in that elevator, which would be also the 12 zodiac signs. So when he kept going back into that basement, it's you keep coming back to Mal, keep coming back to the physical, because your attachments to Mal, to the earth, to Malkuth are what keep bringing you back here. You keep bringing her into the spiritual side of things. You keep bringing the earth into the work. So hence that train. You keep bringing her into the spiritual work. You keep bringing the ego, and you keep bringing these things into the spiritual, into the work that you must be doing, the alchemy. And you must let that go. You must let the things of the earth go. Not that be poor and suffer and don't have money. Let them go. You need to let them go. Don't become so attached to them that it affects your vibrational state. You have to let it all go. So now you have to basically free Mal, because she's what's keeping you, the memory of her. You keep holding on to old things. You need to move past all of these things. So that's why his father told him, he's like, yo, bruh, come back to reality. You keep holding on to Mal, to the illusion of the earth. This is my job. I'm this person. These are ideas that you have created. Remember that you have been here for a long time. You are an old soul. Human beings have been here for billions of years. Billions of years. billions of years. When you study the calendars of the Olmecs, or when you study the history of just like African people and how far back they trace history, they track time to billions of years. They have such a great record of time. They track time, oh my word, like the details of how far back things go. You've been here for a very long time, but now it's time for the new. It's time for the alchemy. So hence Cobb was saying to Mel that, hey, we did grow old together. You did grow old. You built the pyramids. You saw them when they were building and creating the world, creating things that we see. You created it. You grew old with Mel, with the earth. So you have to let it go. You have to let the earth go, the attachments to this place. You keep coming back here. You keep being attached and holding on to the memories of, oh, we were kings and queens and oh my God. So you keep coming back here. Yes, you were that, but now you must move past all of this, past race. I'm Indian, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Jewish, I'm this, I'm that. You will be, it's over now. Don't neglect the lessons and the teachings of the past, because they ground you. Yes, that's true. Hence the totems. The totems are also, let's speak about the totems for a minute. The totems, if you see the totems, he had the spinning totem, she had a chessboard, and that other homie, she had that chess thing, and that other guy had a dice. So those are instruments or tools of games. We use those in games. So the totems also represented the state of earth being an illusion, which is what is known in the East as Maya. So Maya means an illusion. So you keep coming back to this illusion, to this game. But in this game, you need something to ground you. So what grounds you is knowledge. Hence they say in the Matrix, when Neo was visiting the Oracle and he was like, look up there, it means know thyself. So knowledge is what grounds you. But you must create something new from that knowledge. It's not about going back to the old. We've been that. So the old systems are changing. The old systems, uktwasa, prophets, prophecy, churches, all these, they're changing. Not saying that either one is wrong or what, but things are changing. It's no longer the same. Most of them now are corrupt because people are using it. They are bringing mal into these things. So umuntu thwathisa abantu, but doing it only for money. So they are bringing money, material things into spiritual things. Hence now many things are happening in these particular practices and schools, which were originally created to help the soul break down the whole physical and then ascend. But now they're bringing the physical into that. So they're bringing the physical into these fields, which are supposed to help you tap into the levels of the dream to further awaken. So remember, you did grow old with Mal. You did grow old. You've been here for millions and billions of years. So now you need to create the new. So now when we see the timelines collapsing, we are basically looking at the collapsing of dimensions in all the tree falling apart now. You ascending back and going beyond these dimensions, the physical plane, the astral plane, the mental plane, the spiritual plane. Because eventually what you do is that, let's say it like this, when you die, what happens is that you peel bodies. When you are cloaked or covered in bodies, of material. So where the soul incarnates in the tree, or where the spirit, or where your spark is, it takes on the material of those dimensions. So light, so in different dimensions, the angels have plasma body, they have light as bodies. less denser, but still bodies. So you exist in those dimensions, you're just not awake to them. So when you die, what happens is that you peel bodies. You peel the physical body, and then you tap into your astral body. And then that's where you review your life, and then that's where it's decided, is this person gonna reincarnate? Have they reached escape velocity? What's the level of speed? What's the level of light? And if you have reached enlightenment, you move on into much higher, denser bodies, and you peel those. If you don't, you keep reincarnating here. You come back into those infinite states. You are looped. You keep coming back. You are the snake biting its own tail. That's hell. Hell is reincarnation. Keep coming back here, not knowing that it's basically its memory being shuffled around. Watch another great movie. It's an old movie. It was made in 1980 something. But like, if you listen and like, it's called Dark City, where basically people's memories are being rearranged. And there's a very interesting line in that movie where someone says that every once in a while, one of them wakes up. So they shuffle people's memories around. There's these overlords or people who shift things around, and then people's memories get shuffled. You know, one day you are this, you are that, and then someone in that movie awakened. So that's another movie similar to the movies like The Matrix. It's all about waking up from this matrix. So you can escape all of this, you have to break down all the dimensions. You have to break down all the dimensions so that you can go back to your children, your everlasting youth, your eternal self, your eternal joy and happiness. You have to leave all of this. And another part that was important to note in the movie is that they said that when you die in the dream, you go into limbo. And then you're like, oh my God. So you can't just kill yourself. Remember, you came down here. There's a scripture in the verse that says that before you were formed and born in your and before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you, I predestined you, I set you apart. That's higher consciousness. These are the contracts being made in the spiritual realms. So you came down here via knowledge, and you deliberately forgot in order for you to experience certain things so that you can grow. Alchemy. It's a process of alchemy. So the ignorance coming into physicality, it was something that would have and was gonna and needed to happen in order for you to be shaken into a different level of relationship with the entity which you call God. Because the angels in the realms that they are existing in, they would be what we call divine robots, in a sense that they exist so close to the emanation of God that they have no free will. They are so close to that power that they cannot choose this or that. But the lower you go, through the falling, when you fall in the lower realms, duality begins to exist in matter, in the matrix, this and that, yin and yang, good and evil. So here you choose. So man is divine in the sense that he chooses, she chooses good. It's not that do this because God said. No, you come here and you have the option of being dark or light. You can kill niggas and kill people, or you can save a life. I give you a match, you can burn a forest or start a campfire, and then we all enjoy and dance and be like, and tell stories. So the match is not good or evil, it's what you do with it. And this is what we came down here to learn. And then once we learn that, once we understand that it's all about yin and yang, and that both Set and Horus, the darkness, Saito and Cobb need to work together. You must go into the darkness in order for you to bring the light. Then can you really become enlightened. So it's not about you killing yourself, because they said that when you kill yourself, you go into limbo. So you may go into a deeper dream. This is where you get the whole thing that if you kill yourself, you commit suicide, you go to hell. Remember, these are dimensions. There is no physical hell like how they say that you burn in a fire and there's a devil with a fork poking you all day. No, hell is earth. So when they're talking about limbo, you may reincarnate in a different dimensions, or even in the physical dimension again, and in a body where now you still won't remember who you are, because you are in a much more deeper dream. Now you think that you're born in a life where you could not even be close to remembering who you are. You see, limbo, or your soul could be trapped in a particular astral plane for a certain amount of time. Because it's all about dimensions, and it's about you learning how to navigate. So this is when they were showing you them fighting there and all of these things. It's the work. Your soul, your spirit needs to learn how to navigate the dimensions, the different levels of the dream. So it's not about killing yourself, it's about transforming yourself. You don't just kill yourself and then you pop up and then no, you may go into limbo, a further dream state. So the hard times you are having, all these things, they are there as a process to strengthen your soul into a higher, stronger thing, so that you can stand in the vibration of God, individualized, and not be a divine robot. So free will, we represent free will. Free will came with the fall of man. The fall of Lucifer is the fall of duality, or the fall into duality. Hence it's represented by yin and yang, hot and cold, this and that, man and female, in and out, linga and yoni. It's the duality, and then from the duality we merge sexually, because between when we are divided there is a void. That void is created when the splitting of the divine happened. So that's why when you interact or when you merge with the opposite sex, there's that great feeling. It's because it's the merging back into oneness, the androgynous being that split from the monad into duality. So now it's not about killing yourself. You can't escape it that way. It's about persevering. That's what they call it. It's perseverance. Carrying your own cross. The Christ carrying his cross, and they were whipping him. Those whippings were symbological, or were symbols of the struggles of earth. Job, him losing all his things. Job means persecution. Look up the word job in terms of, why do you think you don't like your job so much, most people? Because job means persecution, right? It keeps you weak. Days of the week. Excited for the weekend, not knowing that you are getting the weak end of the deal, you know, the weak part of the end of the deal, the days of the week, feeling weak. So, but then that's a whole conversation in terms of what language is, or what language is, talking about spells. But this physical world is the spell. Right now you are under a spell of illusion. So you don't escape it by just like killing yourself. No, it's about evolving, bearing your own cross through the trials and the tribulations of the physical world. You must learn how to navigate your consciousness. It's about awakening in this lifetime. It is about awakening in this lifetime, so that you can finally tap into that God knowledge. So when you see him spinning, his totem also represents time as it's spinning. We are moving, everything is spinning, the earth is spinning. The zodiac, the sun, everything is spinning and moving in a rotation. Your atoms are spinning. It's time. You are in the realm of time. Time, as I also decoded, time is the illusion. Time is the real enemy. Doctor Strange, when I decoded the movie, time is the real enemy. It's the deception. It is the temptation. You were tempted to come into time, but it's not necessarily that it was evil. You were tempted to come into time temporarily in order for you to attempt to do something that is beyond. It's an experiment. All of this is an experiment. It's alchemy. It's too genius. I cannot find the words to even put it right now, but in a summary, that's what this movie Inception is about. It's deep. It's very deep. It's very, 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 very deep. Dreams within dreams. It's the Matrix. When you watch all these movies, they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. They are all saying the same thing. And basically, you just have to now tap into your God self and awaken from this dream so that you can go back home. So we see that as the movie ends, they awaken in the plane. So that plane represents what? It represents higher consciousness, higher enlightenment. It represents you awakening up to your higher self, then you go home to your everlasting youth, where now you know that you are the God self. You know that you are the God self. because now Fisher has you know that you must become something new. You know, you can't keep wanting to be like your father. You must create something new for yourself. You must leave your father's house. A man shall leave his parents' house to go become one with his wife. Something new. You must create something new. And Cobb was able to do that when he was able to let go of the physical, of Mel, of that aspect. When he was able to let go of that, to come to his senses, to be like, whoa, you know, to come into the real self, to finally go back home to his kids. So peace, love, and light to you all, family. Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Wow, man, as I said, like, Inception is a very deep movie. Make sure that you do look up the Kabbalah and study that, and study, just go into mythology. Look up the mythology of the Great Mother and the Demiurge, Idolabrath, the story of Sophia. Look up the Fallen Daughter. Read up on Pandora's Box. All of these things. If you read the Book of Revelations, all of these books and it's all one thing. It's all tying into one thing. Stop separating these things. When you keep separating them, you're gonna be lost. They are all saying the same thing. You need to put back the puzzle. Solve the puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that you put in place for yourself. Create a puzzle that I can solve. You have created. You are testing yourself. A test of time. You put yourself here. Before you were formed, before you came down here, I pre-knew you. There's many verses. There's another verse right now that says that when you are in the body, it is like a tent, but you have a house in heaven. So all of these verses are talking about the journey of the soul into physicality, in order for you to partake, to eat of the fruit, to eat of life, in order to become something new, in order to become and awaken the God in you, so that you become God. They say God is man on earth and God is man in heaven. Man, there's another one. It says that man is God in ruins. So this is God's school. This is a God school right here on earth. This is an idea that we are creating on a plan, a planet. This is a plan. It is a plan, a very profound plan that starts on the micro and expands into the macro, from atoms to atoms, molecules, cells, tissues, organs and organism, and then the earth, and then the solar system, and then the galaxy, and then clusters of galaxies, and then it's all one beautiful sacred geometry spiral of a plan that is unfolding in many levels of itself. So you are awakening in these levels of yourself, and this is that time. This is that time for you to awaken. So peace, love, and light to you all, family. Much love.